This conference
That
will
means
now be
she's more than
recorded.
that.
I think it says what
Oh,
we're,
yeah.
says we're
Yeah.
recording. I
Left
think.
hand, like, no.
Yeah, it does say, but I didn't hear.
But that's
I didn't hear her
Now
either.
you're recording.
We talked about something having ear brakes.
The free,
What
the
did
free
you call it,
belt
apparatus?
is terrible.
It
Yeah,
can be.
In the morning and
Yeah.
evening.
Ladder.
Yeah, it
that
can
air brake
be.
fixed on it.
It's,
okay.
maybe
but
our speakers.
call
There's
it
a
It's
ladder
okay.
or something.
Yeah, there's
It's
an
probably
accident
under like
down there.
apparatus updates or whatever.
Oh, okay.
This conference will now be recorded.
Right.
We got it. All right, I think that means.
Hey, Steve.
Good
How
job,
are ya?
Steve.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cottage Grove Joint Fire District Commission meeting. It is Monday, August 24th, 2026. It is 6:31 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting, both on GoToMeet and here in Town Hall. I'll call our meeting to order. We do have quorum and the agenda was properly posted, so we'll
Yes.
move to
In the town,
Thank you.
yes. we-
in both the village and town. Thank you. Then we'll move to public appearances, public's opportunity to speak about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. Do we have anyone here that would like to speak on not an agenda item? I don't see anyone online. Seeing none, we'll move to item 4, discuss and consider the minutes from the July 27, 2026 meeting. Thank you for taking the minutes. Any edits?
You actually did these? They're beautiful.
Terrible. You're not doing it like that.
You could be a professional secretary. I'm
Easy.
just saying. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion, could I have a second to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained, motion carries. Then we'll move to item 5, Chief's report, which is attached in our packet. Thanks for preparing the report for us, Chief.
So we're sitting at total staff of 40, 9 officers, 3 driver operators, 21 firefighters, 5 probationary members, no explorers, 1 chaplain, and 1 honorary. Currently at 249 calls for service. That was of 819 last week. Had a couple since then, but it's averaging out to about 1.08 calls per day. If that were to continue, you finish the year around 393 calls for service. Current breakdown of calls is 59 in the town of Cottage Grove, 34 in the town of Pleasant Springs, 120 in the village of Cottage Grove, and 36 mutual aid calls. We've got the bar graphs again, kind of showing the different breakdowns of call types, calls by hour and calls by day. That's kind of well spread out. Doesn't seem like there's any tremendous outliers there. It's all kind of pretty even. For the apparatus info, engine 3 went to Reline Fire, had the drafting issue fixed and some other minor issues repaired. Tender 1 was supposed to be serviced last Tuesday, 8/18, but they canceled. It's supposed to go there Wednesday, but we're not sure if they're gonna cancel or not again. We'll keep that updated. These are some of the repairs that we've had. Engine 3 kind of went in for like a customer sat thing. We've had some issues with it, kind of more than we felt was appropriate for a newer truck. So they brought the truck back in and went through everything and made a list of stuff, made repairs, and they covered all of it. So it was like a customer sat, even though it's technically not under warranty anymore. They just made some repairs to some of the outlying issues. We're gonna do the same thing with tender 1, but they haven't. They keep kind of canceling on us, so try to get that scheduled. Annual ground ladder and aerial testing is scheduled for 8/26, which is Wednesday this week. The replacement fire hoses arrived to replace hoses that failed the hose testing earlier this year, and the drones have been put into service. Currently have 2 operators that are certified. Training for July was rural water movement and fire attack. Training for August is search and rescue operations. And several members are currently completing the drone operator training in compliance with our UAV program and all applicable requirements. So anybody that's going through that's going to be a drone operator is going to go through the FAA Part 107 certification. So so they don't have to have somebody supervise them when they're operating the drone. Other news, department lost one member in August, just a time commitment, and they are currently living in Stoughton rather than Cottage Grove. And we are currently interviewing one candidate. They'll be brought up for a vote Tuesday, September 1st, whether to bring them on or not. So continue with that. Staff milestones, Morgan Johnson with 4 years, Trevor Cooper with 6 years, and Vincent Richards with 1 year.
Is this the first list? Is that all the calls? This first list, and then you did it by town and village and so on?
Yeah, that's correct.
So it looks like there's a lot more on the list from the village, town, and Pleasant Springs than you got in your incident breakdown. Is that possible, or medical? If I'm talking about medical.
The one on the bar graph accounts for everything, including mutual aid. And the list, we didn't break down mutual aid calls. We're just breaking down for village, Cottage Grove, and town. So our village, town, and Cottage Grove, and Pleasant Springs. So there's gonna be a little bit difference between the bar graph and the pie chart and the listing, just because we don't have the mutual aid ones broken down on there.
So, you know, there looks like there's like 25 or 30 total, something like that, medical. Is the ambulance service, are they there too on every one of these, or do you guys get there when they're not even around? Does that happen?
So it really depends. Almost all of it is we're assisting Deer Grove.
Right.
So that's whether that's a P&B pulsal sound breather, we're automatically paged to those because they're a high priority call. We get there, Deer Grove's assigned to that one too, so it's considered a medical assist. But then there's other incidences where, which this is very rare, Deer Grove is out on another call and another ambulance service is coming in. We might be called. We might be the mutual aid department coming in, depending on where it is and what time of day it is. But that's very, very rare.
But what do you do then?
So
I mean,
most of these medical assists.
I think we've discussed this before a little bit, I think, but I just don't quite get it.
So most of the medical assists are either gonna be a lift assist, like if it's a larger patient or the patient's upstairs or downstairs or in a bad area, they need extra manpower to help carry the patient to get them back to the ambulance.
Okay,
Or sometimes it's a driver, because they're typically Deer Grove's running most times two ambulance or two medics in the ambulance. So some of their protocols call for 2 medics being in the back. So if it's a call where it's a severe one where they gotta do meds or they gotta really monitor the patient, they might call us and ask us to drive the ambulance. So they.
oh, so you do have people that do that at times.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's
So that's
interesting.
what these account for. It's either, the most common ones are pulse sound breathers, lift assists, or driver.
And so how many, when you get there, or ambulance services, well, yeah, we don't need you, you know,
It happens occasionally, but it's not,
not very
I
often.
wouldn't say it's significant. Like,
Okay,
you know, usually they err on the side of the caution. If they think they're gonna
Yeah.
do this, they kind of ask for us early, just so they're not caught without help. And occasionally that does happen where they get there and it's nowhere near as bad as what was reported. So then they either cancel us on the way or
but do you get there ahead of ambulance at times?
depends on where it is.
Well,
Car-
what happens then though? I mean,
Then we make contact with them and try to give updates to Deer Grove before they get there. And then once they get there, we won't clear until Deer Grove tells us they don't need our assistance, I guess.
okay,
And in that situation, the most likely would be the person in the car gets there before the ambulance if we are beating them. And I mean, a couple of us that run the car are actually EMT basics. We're not affiliated with Deer Grove, so we can't technically practice under their license, but we do have some medical skills where we can kind of do an evaluation or
See what's going
kind of
on,
update.
at
Yeah.
least, huh?
Yeah. So But everybody's got first aid CPR, so, I mean, if it's one where
Okay.
they needed to do CPR right away, they would just jump in and start doing that.
Okay, good. Makes sense.
Thank you. Other questions on the chief's report? Yes,
one.
go ahead.
So I was going through and just reviewing all the previous reports since May. And one of the things that stood out to me when comparing trends was the malfunctioning alarm total has drastically increased over the past few months here. So it went from 9 in May to 29 in August for that period. Can you tell us a little bit more if there's like some trends behind that, or?
It's kind of hard to nail down. It's, you know, we've talked about a few times the false alarm stuff, which we're gonna talk about in a little bit. A lot more people have monitored fire, smoke alarms, CO alarms in their house now. So some of it is that it's getting called out rather than like it goes off and there's, you know, if it's not a monitored system, like my house, I don't have any monitoring. So if like one went off in my house, I would have to call 911, right? You know, we're kind of seeing trends where like people aren't 100% sure what the alarm is, so they err on the side of caution and call the fire department. So if it's not a monitored one, they'll still call the fire department and say, my alarm went off. I'm not sure if it was fire or CO. So they want us to come and check for carbon monoxide, which we don't have obviously that's something that's very important. We're gonna check to make sure that the building's safe to be occupied, but some of it is the education too of know what kind of detector you have that went off. Because if it's a smoke detector and you don't have, your house is not on fire, then obviously it's a malfunction, right? So do you need the fire department to come tell you they got a broken detector? Not necessarily, but people kind of get into that mentality that I don't know, so I'd rather just call. And that's fine. We're here to help the community, but that's kind of why we see more of those coming in, because people aren't sure what it is. So rather than risk it, they just call and ask us to check it out, make sure they're safe.
Thank you. What I'm hearing is something to consider moving forward is some kind of educational campaign in there about different alarm types. I know also with CO2, one of the steps that should be happening is contact Alliant as well, sometimes to prevent it going to the fire department, since they're the ones that are in charge of gas. Granted, that's also for village based that have gas that way, not propane based.
Yeah. I think Alliant and MG&E's protocol is still like, if you call Alliant or MG&E and say that my carbon monoxide detector went off, I think the first thing they tell you is, okay, once you get off the phone with us, call the fire department. I think that's right in their coaching, because they're covering themselves, because if it really is a gas leak and they just said, wait for our tech to show up and then the house blew up before anything happened, why didn't you tell us to call the fire department or somebody that could check to see if it was dangerous or not, you know? So pretty much like when we operate in a heavy traffic condition, we have to call in Alliant or MG&E's. There's some areas that are MG&E in the village and town. We have to call them, and that's one of the first things they say is, you know, you have to call your fire department. So that's part of it too.
So you're basically saying that people, their alarm goes off, they know it, but because they may not understand what's going on, they're gonna let the fire company or fire department people show up, and then you kind of talk them through.
The monitored ones are hit and miss. Sometimes they don't realize that that the fire department's still coming, so they don't. You know, a lot of these the monitored ones are set up that when the alarm goes off, they call the homeowner, and the homeowner is supposed to answer and give a password. So if they give the wrong password because they built their house 5 years ago and they didn't remember what they made their password, and it's in a sticky note in a drawer somewhere, that happens a lot. They don't have the right password, well, it's still considered an alarm, then we have to go check it out because they didn't give the right code. The other one is like, if they, like I said, they don't even know we're coming, like they answer the phone and the alarm company didn't give us any update that said that the alarm has been confirmed as right key holder. Sometimes there's a delay, so we get there and they go, well, I told them that it's a false alarm and you guys didn't need to come, but that doesn't always leave the monitoring company and get back to the comm center and then get over to us. There's a lot of steps in there and falls through the cracks sometimes.
Okay.
So that's that scenario. But then the other scenario is like the ones that aren't monitored, like I said, somebody hears their alarm go off, they either, you know, I know it's not a smoke detector, but I don't know if it's carbon monoxide. So I'm gonna just err on the side of caution and call the fire department to have them check. We don't know if it's CO or fire. We want to be safe. So,
Okay.
Yeah, they want the fire department to come out and tell them there's a fire or not. Just thought I'd throw that out.
Okay.
it's more,
It's sort of true, really.
Well,
it's more
Yeah.
often like they're not sure if it's fire or CO, so they just want us to make sure that it's not a CO problem.
Right, you see news stories that, yeah, people have poisoning in their sleep and they want to
Yep.
make sure that's not going to happen to their family.
Right.
But
So,
You guys are saints.
Other questions on this part? We will talk a little bit about the false alarm report you prepared in a little bit. Any other questions on this portion of the report? All right, thank you. Then we'll move to item 6, discuss update on the roof vent prop MOU. So last meeting, we talked about that MOU and we said, let's go to municipalities and ask, should we approve this MOU and the district's the owners, and then we have this MOU, or should we have the ownership, the department? So the village board discussed that, decided that we would recommend that it's the department, but if they were to sell off the equipment, we'd want it to come back to Pleasant Springs funds as what we contributed.
You did good. That's what we're looking on our side to do.
So we
We
would,
have not seen the MOU yet, so
I'm not sure if it's finalized yet. Would you like us to send that over?
yeah, we'll have to in
Leland?
order,
Okay.
you know, we don't have any issues with the fire department.
No.
Taking ownership of that piece of equipment. Just, we haven't officially acted on it because we didn't have
Yeah.
a document in front of us to,
Okay,
but
But we're for it though. I mean, it's,
I think we're all
Good.
synced together, at
Okay.
least unofficially at this point, so.
all right, great. So we can send that, and if it comes up at our joint boards meeting, we can bring it there if it's ready for that. Otherwise, we can send it separate too.
Yeah, it should be, in there.
Okay.
Yeah, we probably take care of it the first meeting in September before that, if it gets
Yeah.
out of.
mhm.
All right, I'll take that note back to our staff. I think it's just very simple
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you know, our portion would go back to Pleasant Springs if it were sold. And does that agreement, we kind of talked about it a little bit at board, if I recall correctly. That sounds like it would be acceptable for.
yeah.
Okay,
So when you say that back to Pleasant Springs, that would be town and village portions come back to Pleasant Springs?
Correct. The
Right.
fire department would get their own money and
Okay.
okay. So are there any other comments on that? Otherwise, it looks like we'll get it's just gonna be a simple MOU for that. Sent out. Okay, great. Thank you. Then we can move to item 7, discuss and consider next steps for the bay floor repair at ESB. And Chief put a memo together from, with some pictures about what's going on near some kind of drainage area.
Yeah, so just put this out and has an informational thing. There's a spot between two of the apparatus that goes right down the middle of the floor that it's starting to crack right around the drain. As it continues to get worse, it's kind of a trip hazard. We had somebody roll an ankle on it a couple weeks ago. So got the cones out by it for now. I reached out to Chief, to Anders about it, and he contacted the town superintendent to see if they had anything set up for repairing that. They did not. should probably reach out to Kyla as
I-
well.
I
from
did.
The village, just to, does she have anything or?
She thought that it would be best if it was contracted out for a true fix. They didn't have anything that they could do in-house. She didn't think, she thought epoxy could be like a temporary fix, but it would really just,
Sure,
wouldn't really fix the underlying concern.
okay. Yeah, I probably should restart this at the same time as, Steve, but forgot, I guess, so. So they didn't have anything. We did get one quote so far. And I think that came in around $1,500. We'll get a couple more quotes and we're just gonna put it on the, we'll just put it in the CDESB budget for 2027. So it's a budgeted item rather than.
But these are the only spots, just this one little area, or is it the
I
whole?
noticed one more, starting underneath one of the other trucks, so we'll have them. We'll kind of look around the whole bay to make sure that we don't have any more, with the next couple quotes we get.
I think that makes a lot of sense to put it in the budget if you think it'll be all right until, even if we have someone ready to go line them up right away. Well, I don't know what weather dependent temperatures are
Yeah,
best for.
we might end up having to wait till the spring, but either way, it's manageable right now. So, we're just kind of making everybody aware of it and then just letting you know our plan is to get it put into a budget item and get bids for it.
Other questions, comments on floor drain item? Okay. All right, then we'll move to item 8, discuss recent trends for false alarms. We kind of started to talk about that a little bit, something, we've been trying to make some efforts with our new policies and educational campaigns. So just trying to wrap our heads around, is there something else that we're missing, something else we can do better at, some things that you think might be working well?
I think we're just kind of in a spot, there's always gonna be false alarms. Like, I don't think you can engineer it to never happen. We said in this memo, between January 1st, 2026 till now, we've gone to 52 false alarms. 29 of those were malfunctioning alarms, 23 were accidental. 21 happened at residential properties and 12 happened at commercial properties. So for us, between us and PD, we have a little bit different definition of commercial and residential. We consider all the apartment buildings to be commercial because they're a rental property, they're not a person's home. And that's because of the IBC and NFPA codes for us. Meanwhile, PD considers those residential because they're a house rather than a business, or a living space rather than a business. So there's some overlap there, but that's kind of the breakdown. 6 of them were repeat offenders, where the alarms have happened a second time, and 1 was a third time. So
Were they cited?
they would have been cited then. So PD's been handling that. I should probably check in with Chief Gary a little bit more to figure out where we're at with those. I think Officer Lee was handling the false alarm stuff, but since he left, there's right now I think it's Wagner's intermittently doing or temporarily doing it, and they're until they assign somebody permanently to handle the false alarms. So we can check in with them, see where we're at with citations. But when I talked to, we actually met with Wagner last week to talk about some emergency management stuff. He made it sound like they're up to date on all their citations and warning letters that they're working on. So that is happening. Like I said, it's gotten better, but like, I don't think there's any way you're ever gonna get rid of it entirely. Even some of the alarms we're seeing, like these malfunctioning alarms, there's been a few of them where a fire alarm CO detector has a life expectancy of 7 to 10 years. It's stamped right on the detector that this is the manufacture date, replaced within 7 years or replaced within 10 years, depending on what the manufacturer says. So a lot of those we get are like ones that they've just aged out. Once they hit that age, they go into a chirp or an alarm, where if you took it down, you read it, it tells you that this many beeps is end of life, the detector's bad, get rid of it, replace it. again, people don't necessarily do that step. They hear the beeping, they go, oh, it's an alarm. I need to get outside. I need to call the fire department. So that's where we get a lot of these. Even with us doing kind of like some of our Facebook stuff and some of the education stuff, doesn't always get out there to everybody. And then the other side of it is like people that actually have replaced detectors, nothing is made to last anymore. We're seeing detectors that are a year old, 2 or 3 years old, malfunctioning to the point where they failed, being only a year or two old. So in those cases, the homeowner did everything they were supposed to, but it's just a bad, just products aren't built to last anymore, so it fails, and then they call us. It's just, we continue doing education, and that's really what we can do, I think.
Well, the more that's built, the more you're gonna have a problem. I mean,
I
with
mean-
the stuff by Kim Bannigan's there, that's 200 and some units, and how will they be set up then? If the houses are built, are they in? Where it would go to a system somewhere?
Depends. I mean, it depends.
But I mean, I don't know how they're set up, or the ones on Bus Road, the new ones there, how do they work? Is it alarm inside each
Those are all. single-
apartment, or,
you're talking about Heyday?
yeah,
The new one by the school?
right,
They have a commercial alarm system because it's sprinklered. And
oh, every place is sprinkled, huh?
yes.
Oh,
those
really?
Those ones are sprinkled.
How about the one on the corner of BB and there, the big white stick buildings there? Are they the same, or,
By the bank,
yeah,
yeah, those are all sprinkled too.
okay,
And it depends.
so you
on-
shouldn't have many problems there, right?
It depends on how the building's set up when it's built. So most of them are, most of the apartment buildings, most of these alarm systems, they're set up where they have a sprinkler system, which will activate the entire building if a sprinkler head goes off, right? But Heyday, because they don't have any common space between sites, their detectors might not be monitored by the alarm system. So that, like, you get a fire alarm inside an apartment, it might not set off the panel and automatically call out. They're standalone smoke detectors. Same with the corner of N and BB. They have 3 common areas in all those buildings. They are 3. They have common areas for staircases. They consider that a common area because you walk in, you can get to 3 apartments from one area. So those detectors are actually monitored. So if one of those detectors in the staircase goes off, it's gonna set off the whole alarm of the building. But if it's just one apartment, not in that common area, then it's gonna just be contained to that one
The one-
detector, and they would have to call 911 individually. Same with some of the big apartments on the corner of Gaston and N. The big one there and 100
Yeah.
Limestone. The common areas have systems or detectors that are monitored by the system, but the individual apartments are most likely standalone. So if you burnt food in your apartment, it might go off in your apartment, but it might not go off if it didn't hit a detector out in the hallway. So depends on how the building's built, when and how it's classified. So
Well,
Maybe the thought on this is for future development is you would know what system works best. Is it one standalone type, where it's automatically dispatched through like an ADT? Or if it's a combination of both, where the tenants would have something in their apartment, it would go off, and then they'd have to throw an alarm system.
So it's dependent on code. So there's fire code's gonna dictate which one they have to have. Builders can obviously go above and beyond at any point, but most builders won't do that because they're trying to make the most money they can, obviously. And that's no slight to them. It's just, that's how the world works, so. I have my preference. I like the ones that aren't all tied into the main system, because somebody might accidentally set it off cooking food and then it doesn't call the fire department. They just know. burn some food, fan it out a little bit, we don't get called for that. But if they're all tied in to every system, anytime somebody burns food, it's calling the fire department, which isn't really ideal, obviously, for, say, one of the bigger apartment buildings that, you know, Annie-Gaston or West Limestone, those are a couple hundred units, so how often are people burning food? It probably happens quite a bit, you know, so. It's all dependent on the code, though.
So you find out by the person calling the fire department, what number the apartment is?
If it's a monitored detector, it'll tell, depending on the age, depending on how it's programmed, it should give you an idea. It should say hallway, northwest hallway, third floor. Or if it's one where all the apartments are monitored, it'll tell you apartment, blah, 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 you know. Older buildings, they don't necessarily, they just kind of give you a zone 1, zone 2. You know, you can find a map that shows you the zones, and you can find that, but it might not be as well spelled out as like one of the newer buildings. And then obviously the unmonitored ones, that's gonna take somebody to call. And hopefully when they're calling, they'll tell dispatch what apartment they are, but we've been to a couple now where the person in, say, this apartment on first floor was cooking something, they burned food. Rather, they were nervous about getting in trouble, so they left. Their detector goes off, their neighbor hears it, the neighbor knocks on the door, nobody answers the door. They panic because now they smell something burning and nobody's answering the door, then they call 911. And then we have to figure out what apartment it was because they don't necessarily always know. Person who knocks on somebody's door obviously knows where it is, but sometimes they're just like, I smell smoke, I hear a detector, I'm calling 911, I'm not sure where it's coming from. So then we get somewhere on first floor, there's a smoke detector going off and it smells like burning.
Okay, so when they call 911, how does it get to you then? You have somebody on duty or,
No, the Dane County Comm Center
yeah,
gets the call and then they page us and assign
No,
us a call or.
they
radio.
page you?
Yes, on our.
You have pagers?
Yes.
Holy man, that's an old system.
They're pagers, but they're not like.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Pagers, you know.
So then you get the information from them and,
Yep, it'll tell you what
Yeah.
channel, what call, you know, what it is, what units you're supposed to take. And we go en route, we try to get more information while we're on our way there. But, you know, depending on, like I said, we've had a couple where somebody didn't want to take ownership of it, so they left, and then you have to go down and scavenger hunt trying to find out where it's coming from, because, you know, sometimes by the time you get there, the alarm stops because it's cleared out enough.
Mhm.
But now you have to figure out where that came from. Is there a bigger problem somewhere? And it's, I don't know. I guess if we're gonna do some more education, that'd be one thing to say is like, you're not in trouble because your alarm went off. We can, you know, I don't
At
know.
least this time.
and how would you get every renter to go to a class or something, you know, right?
I mean, so we're doing it through social media. Those are big ones. So we do, you know, our Facebook posts. A lot of times, like when we put up some pub ed stuff, the village will latch onto it, share it over their page too, so that gets out to more people then too. I think if we say something to Kim, usually the town will kind of latch onto it too and do the same thing. So.
On that, I was wondering about the malfunctioning alarm. Like, I know it's big, change your batteries at, you know, each of the clock changes every year. But maybe also we could include something about the lifespan of detectors, 7 to 10 years, check the dates on yours. Because,
Sure.
I mean, time goes fast when, you know.
Yeah.
You're living somewhere you don't realize, boy,
Yeah.
it's been this long since I
Yeah.
checked them or, yeah.
I know, so our PIO officer, Jason Ferdinand, a couple times a year, he puts out stuff, usually like at the clock time, he change your batteries, check this, he'll do a little bit of information about it. And I think we have like 2,000 followers, you know, and our service area is like 15 16,000 residents. So, I mean, it's a really small chunk that we're seeing. So, like I said, when the village grabs it and puts it out to theirs, they have a bigger piece of the pie. When the town grabs it, they have a bigger piece of the pie. So that helps, but, you know, sometimes we're kind of limited how far our information gets, you know.
I think we put it on one of our last mailers too,
Mhm.
that went
Yep.
out to everybody. So,
Yeah, we've done a few
Yeah.
mailers with Inga and,
Well, if there's other ways that we can help too, even if it's, you know, targeted mailers to certain types of properties or reaching out to their property management to put notices in the mailbox areas or I don't know, anything that we could help do, I think our staff would be happy to help with the
Okay.
educational system.
sure.
Other questions on the recent trends for false alarms? David?
I guess just to clarify too, like, we've heard a couple times, maybe, I think at one point there was a perception that maybe the fire department was asking for, some of the alarm ordinance stuff, because I heard it from the community one time where it was like, the fire department just doesn't want to go on those types of calls. And I guess just to clarify, like, that's not really what it is, or, you know, the fire department, we're here to serve the community, so we're gonna go on any calls we can. We've been taught community risk reduction is like one of the big priorities, right? So anytime one of these alarms goes off, we send a truck down the road. Those trucks weigh, you know, the big engine 3 that's going to most of these alarms, that's a 50-some thousand pound truck going down the road with people, and it creates a hazard. We have people coming this way to go to the call, then we got the truck going back to the call or going anywhere to the truck to the call, like, it's a hazard. The less times that we have to put community at risk or our members at risk by going on one of these calls, it's a victory. So it's not about getting, like, we just don't want to do this or we don't want to deal with that. It's more so about trying to keep the community safer because, you know, we put people at risk by going on calls and our staff at risk. So let's try to mitigate the ones we know aren't, you know, any opportunity to prevent an issue before it becomes one, why not do that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Faith, you had a question?
Yes, I'm wondering, we'll be doing a fall, winter newsletter. I can't recall if you gave us an article last time pertaining to this malfunction and people, just all of the little incidentals you just discussed. Would you mind sending us that again? We can put it on our website, but also put it in our newsletter
Sure.
this fall, please.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Do you know when you guys send that out?
We'll be talking about it in September, so it'll probably go out mid-October, I'm hoping. So we notify everyone about leaf collection as well. We have that going on around the lake.
Okay,
That'd be lovely, thank you.
thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, anything else on item 8? All right, item 9, discuss and consider next meeting date and agenda items. We talked about Wednesday, September 30th at 7 p.m. and we'll be talking about budget. And then we also have the roofing quote. Like there's a leak out above the bay somewhere.
Yeah, so just to explain it to everybody, I handed out a quote for Great Lakes Roofing. Chief Lang had them in back in June to like kind of just do a preliminary yearly check of the roof. And they found some areas of concern. It was $1,500 for that repair. He sent it to Steve and I think both of us forgot to put it on the agenda. So I just gave it a copy of it to you guys so you guys can think about it for the next meeting and have the information, so I wouldn't forget about it again. But we did notice over the week, with last week's rain, there was some water spots between the brush truck and the tender and the apparatus bay. So Chief Lang and I just talked actually before the meeting. He's gonna actually have Great Lakes come back out and make sure that the area that he had flagged is affecting that area. If not, then he'll give us a quote to fix that at the same time. So when you guys discuss it next month, you have everything rather than if you approve something now or approve something next month, and you find out it's not part of that and have to do another one. So, so we'll have a total list of any issues to discuss at the next meeting.
Okay,
Vote
great.
on. And the only leak we have right now is, like I said, in the bay where it's concrete, so it's not like it's in a finished area where it's rooting carpet or ceiling tile or something like that. It's just like, cement right now.
But leaks could be running down an electric line or something,
Yeah,
or might
yeah,
not even
obviously.
be anywhere near where you
Yes.
got the drip.
Yeah, we definitely want to get it fixed as soon as we can, but we can put it on, get it scheduled and do it all the right procedure, I guess.
Okay, so we'll have the roofing, talk about budget, and then the bay floor, if that's part of that budget discussion. And also, does anyone else have any other items for September? If you think something, reach out, let me know. Oh, you had,
I know it says budget, but normally we do, so there's the operating budget and then there's the emergency services building budget. So we do those we present them both at the same time, but they're technically separate items. So if you gotta have an agenda item for that, then
So at the commission next meeting, we're gonna talk about budget and items we just discussed.
anyone else have anything else for next meeting?
Boy, this is awful easy on you today. How do you feel? Go home and have champagne or
I'm
something? or-
okay with it. I'm definitely okay with it.
Well, we still have to get through item 10 though.
Oh, no.
Motion to continue. Second.
Oh, wait, who made, is there a motion?
Steve made it, I second.
I was on the last one for this.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Oh, yeah.
Discussing, consider, do we have anybody to?
Oh, a motion to approve
So
the.
moved.
Wanna
Motion
make-
for
Yeah, I'll
wanna
second that.
budget,
Okay.
yeah, for building budget as well as FT budget for next month, among other stuff.
Okay,
You can just copy paste and JP will second that.
Yep.
Okay, so item 9 then, all those in favor of next meeting date, time, and agenda items, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstaining, motion carries, and then item 10,
Motion adjourned.
non-debatable, all those in favor say
Aye.
aye. Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thanks so much, everyone.